Hello and welcome. John F. Kennedy was a leader who inspired millions of people. He was the 35th President of the United States of America. People often called him JFK. He was young, smart, and full of energy. Many people remember him for his famous words, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." These words gave hope to people and asked them to help others. JFK was born into a big and rich family. He had many brothers and sisters. Even when he was young, John loved to read and learn about history. He was not always healthy. He was often sick. But he did not give up. He worked hard and always tried his best. This made him strong and brave. When he grew older, John went to college and then joined the Navy. He fought in World War II. One day, his boat was hit and many men were hurt. John helped save his friends. He became a hero. After the war, he decided to help people in another way. He became a politician. JFK became a member of the U.S. Congress and then a senator. In 1960, he ran for president. He was only 43 years old. He became the youngest man ever elected as President of the United States. Many young people looked up to him. He gave them hope for a better future. As president, JFK talked about peace, freedom, and equal rights. He wanted to end unfair treatment of people. He also wanted to send people to the moon. He believed that nothing is impossible if we work together. His big ideas helped make the world a better place. Sadly, JFK was shot and killed in 1963. People all over the world were very sad. But his ideas and dreams still live on. His life teaches us to be brave, to help others, and to believe in a better tomorrow. John F. Kennedy is a name we remember with respect. He showed that even in a short time, one person can change the world. His story is full of hope, courage, and inspiration. Chapter 1: Childhood and Education of John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was born on May 29, 1917, in Brookline, Massachusetts, in the United States. He was the second child in a big family. His family had 9 children. His father's name was Joseph Kennedy, and his mother's name was Rose Kennedy. They were a very rich and important family. John's family believed in hard work, good education, and helping others. As a child, John was called Jack by his family and friends. Jack was a happy and curious boy. He liked to read books and learn new things. But Jack was not very healthy. He was often sick and had to stay in bed. Even when he was in bed, he read many books. He loved stories about heroes and history. Jack had a big brother named Joe. Their father wanted Joe to become the first Kennedy to be president. But Jack also had big dreams. He wanted to do something good for his country. When John was old enough, he went to school like other children. He studied in good schools in Massachusetts and Connecticut. He was smart, but sometimes he didn't focus on his homework. He liked sports and playing with his brothers. Even though he was often sick, he never gave up. Later, John went to a school called Choate, a private boarding school. At first, he did not get the best grades. But in his last years, he worked harder. His teachers saw that he was very clever and liked to think deeply. After Choate, John went to Harvard University in 1936. Harvard is one of the best universities in the world. At Harvard, he studied history and politics. He became more serious about learning. He also wrote many papers and essays. He liked to understand how countries work and how leaders make decisions. In 1937, John traveled to Europe with his father. He visited many countries and watched world events. He saw the problems in Europe before World War II. He wrote about what he saw. Later, he used this work to write his first book, Why England Slept. This book showed that John was not only smart but also thoughtful. In 1940, John graduated from Harvard. He finished his studies with good marks. His book made people notice him. It showed that he was a young man with ideas and interest in world affairs. Even as a young student, John F. Kennedy showed signs of leadership. He was not just the son of a rich man. He worked hard to learn and grow, even when he felt sick. He wanted to understand the world so he could make it better. His childhood and education helped shape the man he would become, brave, wise, and ready to lead. Chapter 2. Naval Service and World War II of John F. Kennedy. After finishing his education at Harvard University, John F. Kennedy joined the United States Navy. It was the year 1941, and World War II had started. Many young men in America were joining the military to help their country. John also wanted to serve. He wanted to be brave and do something important. In 1943, John became the captain of a small boat called PT-109. PT boats were fast and small. They were used in the ocean to fight enemy ships. John and his team had many jobs, like watching the sea and helping other boats. They worked in the Pacific Ocean near islands where battles were happening. One night, while they were on patrol, something terrible happened. A big Japanese ship crashed into John's boat. PT-109 broke into 2 pieces. 2 of John's men died right away. The rest of the crew fell into the dark water. They were far from help, and the ocean was full of danger. John did not give up. Even though he was hurt, he helped his crew. One man was too hurt to swim. John put the strap of the man's life jacket in his mouth and pulled him through the water. He swam for hours until they reached a small island. It was a brave and heroic thing to do. The island had no food and no clean water. John and his men were hungry and tired. Still, he kept trying to find help. He swam to other islands to look for people. After a few days, some local islanders helped them. They took a message from John, written on a coconut, to the U.S. Navy. Finally, help arrived, and all the men were saved. John became a hero. The Navy gave him medals for his bravery. Many newspapers wrote about his story. People said he was strong, smart, and brave. Even after the war, he kept the coconut message. He put it on his desk when he became president. John's time in the Navy changed him. He saw what war was like. He felt pain and loss. But he also learned to be a leader. He learned how to care for others and stay strong in hard times. This experience helped him later in life when he became a leader of the whole country. The story of PT-109 is one of the most famous parts of John F. Kennedy's life. It shows that he was not just a rich young man. He was a man who faced danger and helped others. He did not run away when things were hard. He stayed, he fought, and he saved lives. This part of his life made people respect him. It showed his courage, his heart, and his love for his country. John F. Kennedy's time in the Navy made him a true American hero. Chapter 3. Entry into Politics of John F. Kennedy. After World War II, John F. Kennedy came back home to the United States. He had served in the Navy and became a hero. Many people knew about his brave story with PT-109. But John was not finished helping his country. Now, he wanted to serve in a different way, through politics. In 1946, John decided to run for Congress. This was the first step in American politics. Congress is where laws are made in the United States. John wanted to be a voice for the people in his area, which was in Massachusetts. He worked very hard during his campaign. He visited many places, talked to many people, and told them about his ideas. John's family helped him a lot. His father, Joseph Kennedy, gave him money and support. His brothers and sisters also helped him meet people and spread the word. The people liked John. He was young, smart, and had a friendly smile. In the election, he won. At just 29 years old, John became a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. John worked in Congress for 6 years. During this time, he learned many things about government and the problems people were facing. He spoke about issues like healthcare, jobs, and world peace. He also visited many countries and learned more about the world. John wanted peace and freedom for everyone. In 1952, John decided to take a bigger step. He ran for the U.S. Senate. The Senate is another part of Congress, but more powerful. It was a hard election, but John worked very hard. He spoke at events, went door to door, and met many voters. Again, the people believed in him. They saw he was honest and full of hope. He won the election and became a U.S. Senator. As a senator, John's life became even busier. He worked on many big issues, like foreign policy and civil rights. He wanted the United States to be strong, fair, and peaceful. During this time, he also got very sick. He had back pain and needed surgery. While he was healing, he wrote a book called Profiles in Courage. This book won a big award called the Pulitzer Prize. In the Senate, people saw John as a future leader. He was young, but he spoke with wisdom. He had a dream for a better America. He wanted to do more. Slowly, he began thinking about running for president. John F. Kennedy's entry into politics was not just because of his family. He worked hard, listened to people, and cared about their problems. He wanted to bring change. His story shows that leadership starts with listening, learning, and caring. John's journey from a young Navy hero to a powerful senator was just the beginning. He was on his way to becoming one of the most famous leaders in American history. Chapter 4: Rise to the Presidency of John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy worked hard as a senator. People liked him because he was young, smart, and full of new ideas. He spoke with hope and made people believe in a better future. After some years in the Senate, John decided to run for President of the United States. In January 1960, John said he would try to become president. Many people thought he was too young. He was only 42 years old. Some people also worried because he was a Catholic. No Catholic had ever become president before. But John was not afraid. He believed that all people, no matter their religion, could be good leaders. John started his campaign. A campaign is when a person travels, speaks, and shares ideas to win votes. He visited many cities and towns. He talked to farmers, workers, students, and families. He smiled, listened, and shared his dreams for the country. He said he wanted a new frontier, a new time of peace, progress, and freedom. One of the most famous parts of the campaign was a TV debate. John Kennedy and his opponent, Richard Nixon, spoke to the whole country on television. People saw both men talk about important issues. John looked calm, strong, and confident. Nixon looked tired and weak. After the debate, many people decided to vote for Kennedy. The election was very close. Millions of people voted on November 8, 1960. In the end, John F. Kennedy won. He became the 35th President of the United States. He was the youngest man ever elected to the office. He was also the first Catholic president. Many young people were excited. They felt like a new day had come. On January 20, 1961, John gave his inaugural address. This is the speech a new president gives on the first day of the job. It was a powerful speech. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." These words became famous all over the world. They inspired people to give, to serve, and to work together. John wanted to bring hope to the nation. He spoke about freedom, peace, and helping the poor. He also wanted to stop war and help people in other countries. He created a group called the Peace Corps. Young Americans could travel to other countries to help teach, build, and care for people. This made the world respect America more. John F. Kennedy's rise to the presidency was not easy. But he worked hard, spoke with honesty, and gave people hope. He showed that young people can lead. He showed that words can inspire change. And he showed that one man with big ideas can make a difference. John's story from senator to president is one of courage and dreams. It is a story that still inspires people all around the world. Chapter 5: The Inaugural Address and Vision of John F. Kennedy. On January 20, 1961, John F. Kennedy became the President of the United States. It was a cold day in Washington, D.C. Many people came to watch the event. They wore warm clothes and listened carefully. It was a very special moment. John was only 43 years old, and he was full of energy and hope. As tradition, the new president gave a speech. This speech is called the inaugural address. In this speech, the president talks about his plans and dreams for the country. John F. Kennedy's speech became one of the most famous in American history. He spoke in a strong and clear voice. His words were full of hope and power. He talked about working together. He said people should not only ask what the country can do for them. Instead, they should ask what they can do for their country. His exact words were, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." These words inspired people all over the world. They made people feel proud and ready to help others. John wanted everyone to work together to build a better future. In his speech, John also talked about peace. The world was afraid of war at that time. He said that the United States would help protect freedom, not only at home but everywhere. He wanted to stop war and start working for peace. He told the world that America would be strong, but fair and kind. John believed in helping poor people. He said rich countries like the U.S. should help those who have less. He wanted to fight poverty, hunger, and pain around the world. He believed that all people, no matter where they live, should have the chance to live a good life. He also talked about science and progress. John said that humans should do great things like exploring space. He believed in the power of knowledge and hard work. He told people to be brave and dream big. John's speech was short, but powerful. It was only 14 minutes long, but every word mattered. He spoke to Americans, but his message was for all people. He said that we are all part of the same world, and we must care for each other. His vision was clear, a world of peace, service, and hope. He wanted young people to lead the way. He wanted America to be a light of freedom and kindness. He believed that by working together, we can make life better for everyone. John F. Kennedy's inaugural address was more than just a speech. It was a call to action. It asked people to dream, to serve, and to believe. Even today, many people remember his words. They still inspire people to help, to hope, and to do what is right. Chapter 6. The Bay of Pigs Invasion of John F. Kennedy. In 1961, just a few months after John F. Kennedy became president, he had to face a big problem. It was called the Bay of Pigs Invasion. This was a very serious and difficult moment for him. It happened in the country of Cuba, which is an island near the United States. At that time, Cuba had a new leader named Fidel Castro. He had taken power in 1959. Many people in the U.S. government did not like Castro because he was close to the Soviet Union, America's enemy during the Cold War. They were afraid that Cuba would become a communist country and allow Russian weapons close to the U.S. Before Kennedy became president, American leaders made a secret plan. The plan was to train Cuban exiles, people who had left Cuba because they did not like Castro. These exiles were trained to go back to Cuba and fight against him. The plan was to land on a beach in Cuba called the Bay of Pigs and start a revolution. They hoped the Cuban people would help fight Castro and remove him from power. John F. Kennedy became president in January 1961. The plan was already made, and his advisors told him it could work. Even though he had doubts, Kennedy agreed to go ahead with the plan. He thought it would be a quick and easy victory. But the invasion did not go as planned. On April 17, 1961, about 1,400 Cuban exiles landed at the Bay of Pigs. They expected support from the U.S. military and help from the Cuban people. But things went wrong. The Cuban army was ready. The exiles were met with strong resistance. No Cubans joined their fight. The U.S. did not give enough help from the air. After just 3 days, many of the fighters were killed or captured. The mission failed. The Bay of Pigs invasion was a big embarrassment for the United States and for President Kennedy. People around the world saw it as a mistake. Many Americans were angry and asked why it failed. John F. Kennedy accepted the blame. He said, "Victory has 100 fathers, but defeat is an orphan." This meant that everyone wants to take credit for success, but no one wants to take blame for failure. Kennedy was honest. He said the government made a mistake, and he would learn from it. Even though it was a failure, the Bay of Pigs taught Kennedy many lessons. He learned to ask more questions, to trust his own thinking, and to be careful with military plans. This helped him later during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Bay of Pigs was a difficult time for John F. Kennedy, but he stayed strong. He admitted the mistake and worked to become a better leader. His honesty and courage during this crisis made people respect him even more. Chapter 7. The Cuban Missile Crisis of John F. Kennedy. In October 1962, the world came very close to a nuclear war. This scary event was called the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was one of the most dangerous moments in history, and John F. Kennedy had to lead the United States through it. The problem started with Cuba, an island near the United States. At that time, Cuba was a communist country and its leader was Fidel Castro. Cuba was very close friends with the Soviet Union, which was America's enemy during the Cold War. The Soviet Union and the United States did not trust each other. Both countries had many nuclear weapons that could destroy entire cities. In October 1962, American spy planes flew over Cuba and took secret pictures. These pictures showed something very serious. The Soviet Union was building nuclear missile bases in Cuba. These missiles could reach U.S. cities in just a few minutes. This was a big threat. President John F. Kennedy and his team were very worried. If the Soviet missiles became ready, millions of American lives would be in danger. Kennedy had to make a smart and quick decision, but he did not want to start a war. Kennedy called a group of top advisors together. They talked about many choices. Some people wanted to attack Cuba right away. Others wanted to talk first. Kennedy listened carefully. He wanted to be strong, but he also wanted peace. Finally, Kennedy chose a middle path. On October 22, 1962, he gave a speech to the world. He said the U.S. had found Soviet missiles in Cuba, and this was not acceptable. He announced a quarantine, which means the U.S. Navy would stop any Soviet ships carrying weapons to Cuba. He told the Soviets to remove the missiles. For the next 13 days, the world waited. People were scared. Would there be a nuclear war? American ships and Soviet ships came very close to fighting. But both sides were careful. No one wanted to start a war that could destroy the world. Finally, the Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev sent a message. He agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba. In return, the United States promised not to attack Cuba. Later, the U.S. also agreed to remove its missiles from Turkey, near the Soviet Union. This part of the deal was kept secret at the time. The Cuban Missile Crisis was over. The world took a deep breath. John F. Kennedy had helped stop a war. He showed strong leadership and careful thinking. He used peace and power at the same time. After the crisis, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union learned an important lesson. They set up a hotline, a direct phone line between the leaders, so they could talk quickly in the future. John F. Kennedy's actions during the Cuban Missile Crisis showed that he was a wise and brave leader. He helped keep the world safe at one of the most dangerous times in history. Chapter 8. Civil Rights and Domestic Policies of John F. Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy became president in 1961, the United States was facing many problems at home. One of the biggest problems was racism. Many black Americans were treated unfairly. They were not allowed to go to the same schools, eat at the same restaurants, or even sit in the same seats on buses as white people. This unfair treatment was called segregation. John F. Kennedy believed that all people should be treated equally. At first, he was careful about speaking too much on civil rights. But as time passed, he saw that he needed to do more. People across the country were marching in the streets, asking for freedom and fairness. These peaceful protests were led by brave leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. In 1962, a black student named James Meredith wanted to study at the University of Mississippi. But many people tried to stop him. There were big protests, and the situation became very dangerous. President Kennedy sent U.S. soldiers to protect James Meredith. This was a big moment. It showed that the president was ready to fight for civil rights. In June 1963, Kennedy gave a powerful speech. He said, "We are confronted primarily with a moral issue." He explained that civil rights were not just a political problem, but a problem of right and wrong. He asked Americans to treat one another with respect and dignity. Kennedy also made a plan called the Civil Rights Act. This law would stop unfair treatment in jobs, schools, and public places. But before it could become law, Kennedy was killed. Later, the next president, Lyndon B. Johnson, helped pass the law in 1964. Besides civil rights, John F. Kennedy worked on many other issues inside the country. These are called domestic policies. He wanted to help poor people, improve education, and make healthcare better. One of his big ideas was the New Frontier. This was his plan to make America a better place. He asked people to dream big and work hard. He wanted to fight poverty, help older people, and support farmers and workers. He also wanted better housing for people living in cities. Kennedy believed that education was very important. He wanted more schools and better teachers. He also wanted to help students go to college. He believed that education could help people live better lives. Another big idea was space exploration. Kennedy wanted the United States to lead in space. He promised that America would send a man to the moon before the end of the 1960s. This dream came true in 1969, 6 years after his death. John F. Kennedy's work on civil rights and domestic policies showed that he cared about people. He believed in fairness, education, and hope. He wanted every person to have a chance to succeed. His words and actions helped start big changes in America that are still important today. Chapter 9: Space Race and Moon Speech of John F. Kennedy. During the 1960s, the world was watching a big competition. It was not a sports game, it was a race to space. This event was called the Space Race. Two countries, the United States and the Soviet Union, were trying to be the first to explore space. Both wanted to show they were the best in science and technology. In 1957, the Soviet Union sent the first satellite, Sputnik, into space. This surprised many people in the United States. Then, in 1961, a Soviet astronaut named Yuri Gagarin became the first person to fly in space. The U.S. felt behind and wanted to catch up. When John F. Kennedy became president, he saw how important space had become. He believed space was not just about science, but also about hope, freedom, and the future. He wanted America to lead the world into space. On May 25, 1961, Kennedy spoke to the U.S. Congress. He said something bold and exciting. He said, "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth." At that time, no one knew how to do it. But Kennedy believed Americans could do anything if they worked hard. His words gave the country a big dream to follow. Later, on September 12, 1962, Kennedy gave another famous speech at Rice University in Texas. In that speech, he said, "We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard." These words were very powerful. He told people that hard work is good. Big goals take time, but they are worth it. He wanted Americans to believe in themselves. Kennedy's moon speech was full of energy and hope. He said space was a new frontier, like a new land to explore. He told people that the U.S. must not be afraid, but brave. He believed that space could bring people together and bring peace in the future. After his speech, the United States worked very hard. Scientists, engineers, and astronauts trained day and night. They built rockets, learned new skills, and took big risks. Sadly, John F. Kennedy did not live to see his dream come true. But in 1969, 7 years after his moon speech, his dream became real. Neil Armstrong walked on the moon and said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." This great success happened because of Kennedy's vision and belief in the power of people. John F. Kennedy's words and dreams took America to the moon. He showed the world that with courage, hard work, and hope, anything is possible. His space speech still inspires people to reach for the stars. Chapter 10: Assassination and Legacy of John F. Kennedy. On November 22, 1963, something very sad happened. President John F. Kennedy was shot and killed while he was riding in a car in Dallas, Texas. He was only 46 years old. The news shocked the United States and the whole world. John was riding with his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy, and others in a car with the top open. Many people were standing on the streets, waving and smiling. They were happy to see the president. But suddenly, gunshots were heard. John was hit and taken to the hospital. A short time later, the doctors said he had died. The man accused of shooting Kennedy was Lee Harvey Oswald. He was caught soon after the shooting. But before he could go to court, Oswald was killed by another man named Jack Ruby. Because of this, many people have questions about the event. Some people believe there may have been a bigger plan, but the truth is still not clear to everyone. The country was in deep sadness. People cried in the streets. Schools, shops, and offices closed. The whole nation watched the funeral on television. Leaders from many countries came to say goodbye. His wife, Jacqueline, and his children, including little John F. Kennedy Jr., were very brave. Even though his life ended too soon, John F. Kennedy's legacy is still strong. A legacy is what a person leaves behind, their ideas, actions, and how people remember them. Kennedy is remembered for his hopeful speeches, his dream of peace, and his fight for equal rights. He asked people to give their best and to help others. His words, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country," still inspire people today. He started the Peace Corps, a group that sends young Americans to help people in poor countries. He supported space exploration, which led to the first moon landing in 1969. He also worked to bring peace during the Cuban Missile Crisis, helping the world avoid nuclear war. John F. Kennedy believed in freedom, justice, and unity. He wanted America to be strong, but also kind. He believed that people, no matter where they came from, deserved a good life. Today, many schools, streets, airports, and buildings are named after him. His picture is on coins and stamps. The Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. celebrates the arts and keeps his love of culture alive. Though his time as president was short, his impact was big. He gave people hope. He made them believe that they could change the world. John F. Kennedy's life and death teach us to be brave, to dream big, and to serve others. He is remembered as a leader who tried to make the world a better place, and his light still shines in the hearts of many. Vocabularies. 1. President, the leader of a country, especially in a democracy like the United States. Example, John F. Kennedy was the President of the United States. 2. Speech, a formal talk given to an audience. Example, Kennedy gave a famous speech about going to the moon. 3. Brave, not afraid, showing courage. Example, Kennedy was brave during the Cuban Missile Crisis. 4. Peace, a time when there is no war or fighting. Example, Kennedy worked hard to keep peace between countries. 5. Civil rights, the rights all people should have, such as freedom and fairness. Example, Kennedy supported civil rights for Black Americans. 6. Legacy, what a person leaves behind after they die, their impact. Example, Kennedy's legacy still inspires people today. 7. Invasion, when one country or group enters another place by force. Example, The Bay of Pigs was a failed invasion in Cuba. 8. Equality, the state of being treated the same as others. Example, Kennedy believed in equality for all people. 9. Exploration, the act of going to a new place to learn about it. Example, Kennedy supported space exploration and the moon landing. 10. Assassination, the act of killing an important person, often for political reasons. Example, Kennedy's assassination shocked the whole world. Quiz questions. 1. What nickname did John F. Kennedy's family use for him during his childhood? 2. What was the name of the small boat that Kennedy commanded during World War II? 3. In which year did John F. Kennedy first run for Congress? 4. Who was Kennedy's opponent in the 1960 U.S. presidential election? 5. What famous line did Kennedy say in his inaugural address about serving the country? 6. What was the name of the failed mission in Cuba that embarrassed the U.S. government? 7. Which country placed nuclear missiles in Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis? 8. Who was the black student that Kennedy helped attend the University of Mississippi? 9. In which university did Kennedy deliver his famous "We Choose to Go to the Moon" speech? 10. In which city was John F. Kennedy assassinated in 1963? Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed learning with us. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. Your support helps us grow and bring you more inspiring stories and easy English learning content. Do you have a topic you'd like us to cover in our next video? Maybe a famous person, an invention, or a country? Let us know in the comments or messages. We'd love to hear your ideas. You can find answers in the description. Thanks again, and keep learning with us. See you in the next video.